after all, it's just the consciousness trying to hold on to something within the projected world, and it becomes a soul trap in itself. Because for you, it's like some people, and again, people who come to me, they're like, okay, Jivanmukti, I'm like, stop it. Whoever, the matrix will mess you, meaning, sorry, not mess, mince you, meaning mix you with its own projection. Like, okay, there was Muhammad, there was Buddha, there was Isha or Jeshua, whatever, Jesus, or what they call them. And again, we were not there. It's not our timeline. It's not, or maybe some people were there, but how does it matter right now? But now the matrix is still propelling the same narrative. It means it keeping you stuck 2,000, 5,000 years with narratives which are not relative. And then when you are trying to leave, you are entrapped. You're getting into the soul trap, which your mind creates. Oh, I'm so afraid now. What's going on? I'm extending. My body's numb, or okay, Jesus, or okay, Muhammad or Krishna, and then you start propelling this. But the most important, so it's painful to free, because then you don't hold on to anything. Okay, people ask me, do you believe in God? What is it? Highest of the highest. Like, I don't need to define it. I don't need to call it anyhow. Like, there are different levels, and the more energy you have in terms of the more you are, the less you're dependent on this projection currently, the more you are kind of having access to higher frequencies, and these higher frequencies give you more timelines or access to more timelines. And the more timelines you access, the more you can actually feed off that higher energy and sustain your form in this projection. And to be honest, I studied philosophy, religions, history of religions. I've seen through meditation things that nobody maybe knows. But all these sciences, they are how relevant. Okay, you look at the moon. Okay, the moon is in Leo position. Great. From whose perspective? Okay, black hole is approaching. Oh, in 10 billion years. Beautiful. We're feeding ourselves with information that doesn't make any sense. And so when you start actually just kind of shifting to that, it starts kind of unraveling, like opening, almost like I don't know, like when a seed is erupting from a soil, it seems like a destruction. Like, okay, that soil, that part of the soil is just rising up and then opening, and then the seed is showing, and then it starts growing. But it's growing because, yes, the plant is sucking the nutrition from the soil, the water, but it's actually going towards the sun. And that sun is a different type of energy than soil and water and minerals. But because we're holding on to that awareness that we are immortal, because the sun doesn't die. You see, the plant grows, goes through a cycle, then winter comes, let's say if it's winter. And it just, or even if it's not winter, it still will decay and give seed, or give, life to another seed. So it transforms continuously, and through its seeds, it continues living. So now the way we're living in this Kali Yuga, which is going now within 3 years, that's why there's such an intensity now. We were supporting our life through from generation to generation. So we couldn't support in one body. That's why we started dividing, multiplying, fragmenting, dispersing consciousness. And so now many bodies, they're almost like soulless. They're like fragments of some bigger soul. And then it is just crazy how, if you can look at it actually that way. Yeah. As we look at 8 billion people, how many of these 8 billion people actually are aware souls? Maybe 1 in 100,000, and the rest of this 100,000 are closer or farther reflections of this soul. So then how many people will you have them? A handful, right? In comparison.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so if the soul finds this path, like, it means that it has some awareness. And so, but then you see, if you saw the webinar,
Yeah.
it's profound. We've done a lot of collective work because it's a lot to handle in terms of transcending ancestral. So you will hear what I'm speaking about, but in a very short terms, like once you were an egg in your mom's ovary, right? Now your mom had experience that is recorded in your genetics. The same happened. Your mom was once an egg in her mom's womb. All these women, because from my standpoint, let's say I'm consciousness, but I needed to borrow this material. It had to come. And so it's like you gain a spacesuit in the environment you can't survive otherwise without, right? Okay, consciousness, okay, what is it? Nobody sees it, but you want to be visible, let's say. So you come here. But because you envelop in this genetic material, you have to spend decades, sometimes lifetimes, not lifetimes, okay, decades, let's say, if you're conscious, looking at realizing that, oh my God, I'm dealing with emotions of my great-grandma.
Yeah.
Maybe great-grandma was raped. Maybe her husband was abusing. All these feminine lines, which were mixed and ended into your genetics as you are now, they're affecting you, and you're thinking, these are my fears, these are my pains, these are nothing. It's all because you're in this body. And that's what the work is about. The healing is not for your consciousness is kind of just enveloped. But once you start dissociating in a positive way, that I am free, but what I'm dealing with is not even mine, the healing process starts. And you start feeling more balanced. But again, let's say if you're a woman who is having menstruation, you can follow the moon cycle. If you're a woman who doesn't have menstruation, it's still the same. Maybe you cannot reverse to a degree because, let's say, if menstruation ended, but sometimes you can stop at this point. You can stop losing energy at this point and start at least to some point regenerating and just staying in this form, that your form doesn't decay further. Again, from the webinar, you'll realize because when you're like, let's say 13, 14, you start accessing that genetic information. Because before that, you're not, because you see, puberty is like Kundalini Awakening. Menopause is you're trying to close the door to that. But if you haven't transformed that information, it starts still lingering. It's almost like shadows attacking. So many women going crazy during this time, but it's not supposed to be. So you will see during also webinar, because I don't want to spend time on that, but how to release these patterns. It's actually simple. You can affirm that you're releasing. It's as simple as that. You're walking, you say, if you feel some contractions in ovary, let's say right ovary or left, maybe you have anger to your mother, to your father. It's very important to locate pain in a particular area, or let's say hot flushes, something like this, I don't know, let's say in the head, right? So there is some resistance, some lack of maybe forgiveness in some situation, anger to oneself, anger to oneself. Oh, I haven't accomplished, I should have. Nothing. Look just at this moment. Many people so convinced that nothing regenerates, nothing can be reversed. It's okay, then I can't do anything about this belief. If you have that, you have to rejuvenate yourself from within by tapping to the higher consciousness. And higher consciousness means you can allow these moments of tranquility and neutrality. That means balance, absorption. You go into this and you stay. You fill in with that energy, and then that energy starts pushing pains, maybe discomfort, maybe some story. And then you look at it. Whose story, whose pain is this? And then you're not trying to change. You just, okay, whose pain? It's like a hypothetical question which you throw into the space. And you know what? You will start getting back. You will start, suddenly your grandma will pop up in your consciousness. Suddenly you might remember that your mom said something. Maybe you will start having an idea, well, I wasn't there kind of consciously, but I still was. My consciousness was waiting for my body. Maybe when my mom was pregnant, maybe the father was not present or was hurting or was doing something. My mom went through an emotional state that I'm going through now. And I have no idea why I'm feeling like this. Maybe there was loss in the family, a mother was grieving, and now I don't know why all my life I have a lot of fear of loss of a loved one. And I think it's mine, but it's not.
Yeah.
So this way you start pushing this from your identity to the periphery and just looking at it. It's not mine. Okay, I can walk with it. I'm feeling it. I can walk with it for days, hours, maybe minutes sometimes. And then it transforms. I say, I release all this pain. I release all these painful patterns from my solar plexus, from my ovaries, from my womb. And I ask for forgiveness from my body for having stored it for too long. You say to your body, please forgive me for, burdening you and not releasing it earlier, but release it now. This is for you to work with yourself. And any place, even the heat, say, I release all this anger. Because there is hidden anger. Sometimes we have anger. We can say, oh, my partnership is relatively great, but maybe you had frustrations. Maybe you had this, you wanted more warmth, but the person was not able to give. And you're like, okay, but I still want to stay in this relationship. But are you really 100%, authentic in the way you wanted to feel and the way you felt? Because then this gap is filled with resentment. Again, now it's interesting because Uranus turned to Taurus, right? According to Vedic and Siddha astrology. So this position was in 1940s. This year it moved 31st of May. Look, I have shivers all over me. It's definitely that. So 1940s, before the Second World, but all this situation with Europe was going from 1933 to 1950s. It was complete reset, you may say, right? A lot of history was rewritten and everything. We don't know anything about it. But people were brainwashed, of course. There was a lot of collective social experiment. And all the people individually were a part of that. So now Uranus moved just 1st of June. No, 31st of May. And in 1940, it moved 1st of June. So, and so the war started basically around that. But now the planetary positions are not exactly the same. They're actually saying that it won't start. I don't believe it will start. But there will be, of course, difficult things because Uranus and Taurus, it kind of can affect some, like people might want to change the way they eat, nutrition and all these things. So it could be also very transformative for many people. But we're speaking about the bloodlines. So there was a lot of propaganda for females to be strong, to be somehow, I don't know, there's something like that I'm feeling that affected the, like I always have to be dominating, controlling. So there was a complete reset for feminines, in terms of, the feminines were like pushed sometimes to go to war and like to show that they are as equal. It creates a huge imbalance in the society. So I really, because Rahu Ketu are opposites, so I hope that what we're doing, whether knowingly or unknowingly, it sets it back to balance, because many women think that they have to constantly demonstrate their power, their strength, and compete with men. No, this is not a strong femininity. Strong femininity is that you're still feminine, but you're very clear in your ability to accept to spread love, to be benevolent, to be loving, and yet abstain from direct control.
Yeah.
You can suggest, you can offer with love, and then if that is reciprocated, you know, that is your result. And yet you can still be clear and autonomous within your own self as a female, right? But we don't know this because nobody taught us, right? All the women were brainwashed and everyone is now, yeah, I can pay for myself, I can do this, I can lift. So it's very, it hurts because then it caused imbalance in creative energy. And what is creative? It's sexual energy. And most of the women are frustrated. Men are having issues with their sexuality because, or sometimes they can't perform because they feel dominated, they feel imbalanced, they feel, you know, so they're looking for some kind of other fakeness. So then the fakeness was born, you know, to get that attention, to get that male energy. So it's just a total social perversion. And so that feminine frustration of not getting what they want from a man was born because of also the society pushed women to be unnatural, not in the natural environment, not in the natural element. And so now we need to understand it and to restore it. So we need to restore it within us. It doesn't matter when you started, or whether you're 12 or 30 or 40 or whatever, 50. It's just the realization, as simple as that. So how do I embrace my feminine energy? First of all, you release anger to the man, to all you haven't received, to all you couldn't get or anything. And you also release anger to your ancestors, because now you understand it all because of them, because the way they started interpreting life and family and sexuality and love and etc., etc. So now I release this all. I release all these love patterns. I release all these ideas about relationships, situationships, you know, society, everything. So who am I now then? And so when you, it actually brings you to the focus on your womb. Who am I now as a female? How do I embrace myself? And when you focus on your womb, you start feeling warmth. Your womb starts, you know, vibrating different. You're like, why was I even frustrated? I have it all within me.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start radiating it, your man starts kind of drifting towards you more and more and more, without you saying, with you just being loving, nurturing, selfless, because that's the feminine energy, selflessness. The man needs to control because he needs to organize and structure. So there will always be a seed of, okay, I do this because of this. But a female is a source of spiritual knowledge, intuition. It's not a man, it's a female, because out of her womb, and out of, because of her pituitary gland that has 2 lobes activated, not one like in a man, she's able to channel during her pregnancy and open to receive a soul into her bodies and to produce, because of the spiritual creative energy, this fetus, the costume for the soul. And because of that, she is the source of benevolence, wisdom, spiritual knowledge, and abundance. And the man can go around and organize the world, the projection. But she's sitting there tuned in with the spiritual, with the higher realms, and emanating like a Tesla coil or like a tower that emanates vibration that helps her society, her people, her family be balanced. A woman is supposed to be balanced within. And then her man feels nurtured, inspired, strong, supported from behind the scenes, wise, and he's able to organize the projected reality in a very balanced way, in a very assertive way, in a very kind of intelligent way, so that, again, from the external standpoint, everyone benefits. His people benefit, his family benefits. So this is how the society is supposed to be organized from the start. But because we got, dominated by different ideologies, philosophies, and then it went into social experiments, social structures, or chaotic structures, we ruined, or we kind of started controlling the natural feminine element, and we ruined our ability to build healthy relationships on a healthy foundation, so that the offspring is also receiving that balance, or the balanced idea of relationship. And so we're now faced with a society of dissatisfaction, obsession, search, perversion, divorces, inability to even perceive love, but wanting and longing it obsessively and looking for it in all the wrong places. So now when we do the healing, it all starts with individual. Every individual can do this. So if you focus on your womb, and it all starts with feminine. Now spirituality is dominated by men. Everything is controlled. Everything is structure, technique, exercise. It's far from natural spirituality. Natural spirituality, and again, so many copycats are using this term, which I introduced. Natural spirituality does not require anything but attunement with your own soul, and from that intuitive being and natural being, you operate through life, in life, without denying anything or obsessively longing and pursuing it, without believing or disbelieving, but staying and pursuing neutrality, bliss, and balance. And you start emanating it. And that is yoga. And then all the men start letting go of ideologies and control systems and start also tuning in to their being, to their soul, to their creativity and femininity. But if women are not the beacon light, there is no progress for humanity, because it's the mother that starts and that ends. It is the alpha and omega. And most of the people, especially rigid, especially power-driven, spiritual ambition-driven, spiritual narcissist-driven, can never understand that. That's where they're stomping. They're fooling themselves with all the techniques, with all the ambitious things, with swiping whatever, getting high from little piece of information, but in reality are not getting neither spiritually nor physically anywhere, because the root has not been addressed, nor been healed, nor been put into balanced state so that it starts emanating. I don't care who says. What are you? Is that what you have and what you're emanating in life, and every second. And so the healing comes from within us as females. Unfortunately, at this time, a lot of females are in illusion, in entrapment, which does not allow them to develop intelligently or to, really embrace their own spiritual intelligence. Again, when I say develop intelligently, I don't mean reading books. I mean, tuning into the higher realms and embracing it from puberty, so that your entire life is in a balanced way, rather than chaotic, where you are used, abused, your energy is haunted, you're played, you're, somebody sucking your energy. That's perversion of the society. But the females who are able to embrace themselves, grow in that way, and really become the beacon light for the society. And I think that we are trying to reverse this perversion that happened in 1940s now, because Rahu Ketu in the opposite position, other planets are, you may say, rolling in a different way, so that we can actually realize that within that no matter how much this man or many men will try to control the narrative, no matter how much they try to dominate and steal that feminine energy, they cannot generate it. It means that their connection with the divine is superficial. For a man, the connection with the divine is possible only through their connection with their feminine, and most probably through the external feminine, or it's in short through the external feminine, if this feminine is balanced. Because if you're connected with the toxic feminine and you're pursuing that connection, it means you're toxic within and your own feminine is unhealed. So men have to heal the relationships with their mothers. They have to heal their relationship with their bloodlines. They have to surrender to that energy of benevolence and love to overpower fear, out of which the desire to control comes. And then the progress will be smooth. For females, the path, spiritual path, is completely different, because it's working with invisible energies, with invisible elements of this creation, and also promoting balance. Because if the woman promotes balance in her family, her man will be ascending spiritually much faster. Plus, she will be nurturing him in one way, and he's going to be nurturing her in a material way, in that male way, which is taking care, enveloping, embracing, giving, right? And she will be giving in a different way. So then the balance is restored. Then all the ancestors are happy. So this is kind of the way, because you see, when we go to all these different cheerleaders, I call them spiritual cheerleaders, motivational speakers, it's all great, beautiful words, but no work, because everyone is cracked from within. It's like a cracked pot. You have to put it, burn it again, maybe put a patch and burn it again so that it can become usable. But most of the people have a lot of cracks within their consciousness, and they are also afraid to really go through this transformation, which could feel as pain. So, and a lot of people are absolutely ignorant. All they want is a new technique. So they're ignorant about the fact that there is a process. It's not a technique. It's a process where you're learning to cultivate trust and surrender more and more and more. Because if you're learning techniques, let's say magical techniques for manipulation, what are you trying? You're not embracing, you don't know surrender, but nothing happens if you don't surrender. Because when I say men have to embrace the feminine, it means they need to learn to surrender that control, because otherwise they will keep themselves contracted, decaying, aging, denying, and again controlling. So love from a feminine is that tool. True love, very rare. Very few females or males experience high frequency love, as I said many times. That is the tool to invoke a man into, and kind of beckon them over into true love, into true feminine aspect, to see all his imbalances, which are desire to dominate, desire to prove, desire to defend, desire to numb, desire to deny, desire to believe obsessively, be fanatical, look for another fix, for another technique, for another exercise. All that is dead-end spirituality, dead-end living, because it's draining life force. When you are in surrendered state, you are like that sponge that is constantly absorbing that cosmic universal energy. And we as feminines, we can easier do that, but because we're again grown up in this society, we'll lose this power to absorb. And we start going into emotional states. So the goal for this modern woman is to learn to navigate through emotions, learn to understand that these are temporary waves and just watch over them and affirm the release and continue doing it through the attunement of the moon cycle. So from the new moon to the full moon, you will have these peaks and lows of how you feel. And during specific moon cycle points, you feel like this, again, this energy, this pressure came up. So now I need to do the work 7 days, let's say, before the new moon or full moon. You're releasing or you're processing. And then you're starting anew. And this goes on for years until you feel more grounded, more tranquil. Then you become a woman of light, meaning of higher frequency of love. You hold that love within you. You don't need to yell around, hey, I'm love. It feels like that. The benevolence that, you know, what is benevolence? Is that natural emanation, like blessing is oozing out of you when you're at peace. So everyone who is within your family, be it your husband, be it your children, grandchildren, they all start being nurtured by this because you are like that antenna that is tuning into the higher being. And you not only heal and restore yourself from within through this absorption and peace, but you start restoring the family peace. You start giving wise words. Because when you're at peace, you perceive simplicity of life. And when you see someone, let's say your grandchild, the child is in chaos, is in some dramatic state, you can offer them just few sentences that will give them peace of mind. So that's the feminine way to, you know, heal and ground and also connect or reconnect on a proper foundation with the male, to ignite their, you know, determination to support you, to be there for you, to nurture this family unit, to be sexually active as well in a proper way, you know. Otherwise, when you are in a controlling energy yourself as a female, you repel, you challenge, you clash through your, let's say, personalities, because that personality is the external male representation. If you act the same way, energetically, it causes clash and sparks and drama, right? So, yeah. And that toxic element is, whether it's passive aggression, active aggression, doesn't matter, it's still the same. It's that toxic element within the female and the active kind of natural reaction from males. The anger, right? The anger, the dissatisfaction. But again, when you're wise, you learn to react through communication rather than react through abuse, meaning constructive communication, rather than react in a way like in a toxic way, like silent treatments, hurting, abandonment, manipulation, and all kinds of control tactics, mind control tactics. You just speak, communicate your truth in a very loving and constructive way, because after all, your desire is to have these relationships, to have these peace in your, and joy and love in your family unit. So you again do what? You surrender your toxicity. And that's why the spiritual wisdom is built through these stages of surrender. Surrender and release, surrender and release. Pain, okay, you say, I release this pain, it's still felt there, okay. You're just observing, no story, no going around and numbing or trying to react anyhow, just there in peace. I release all the pains. Yeah, my mind might create, oh, because of this pain, I'm not going to be happy in future, nothing's going to happen, like this. I release the negative self-talk. I release all the negative patterns. I release all the ancestral programs. I release all the imbalanced feminine and masculine patterns. I release all the resentments from my male and female lines. And I release all the toxicity from all my energy centers, from my energy body, from my nadis, from my centers, from my physical body, from my glands, and from my organs. And then it gets all transformed. It's just all dissolved because awareness dawned, awareness shone the light onto these difficult areas of life or darker areas of life. Darker means what you weren't aware of fully. So when you start consciously releasing, yes, you might have cries, you might have, but that's all a part of this. Because you will cry you will release tears that your grandma could not release. You will release frustrations that you were suppressing and which are maybe affecting thyroid or, the proper function of ovary, because it's all, glands. I've written about it in Siddha Tantra, but a glandular system, it's kind of like connection with the energy body. And all these shadows, they are in the energy body. But if the loss of energy is happening from the energy body for too long, it starts affecting organs because the hormonal system doesn't function properly. And so it doesn't produce enough hormones to keep all the systems and organs working in the right way. And then there is another thing, which is parasites. Also in the physical level, it can be parasites, right? Most of the people have parasites. Mm. And so in terms of Ayurvedic cooking or Ayurveda or Siddha medicine, the most important is to free your body from toxins and parasitic energies, because it also causes damage to organs, to intestines, malfunction of digestive system, like malabsorption of nutrients. You can give, let's say, before you detox, you shouldn't even change anything. You can simplify a diet, but radically, you have to free yourself first from these.